In complete transparency, I need to be clear that I have not completed Retreat to Enen, and I never probably will, because it is an exercise in absolute frustration for me from a gameplay point of view. And whilst I absolutely adore the premise and I love some of the ideas behind this game, I don't think I will ever get to the end of it because I just want to tear what little hair I have left out of my head. However, I still think that it warrants a video because I think that this game is a really good case study in how off the wall and interesting and unique ideas are utterly failed on by poor tutorialization at the beginning of a game. So, what is Retreat to Enen? It is a survival game where you are popped into a 3 biome island, and you'll start off with just one of them to begin with, where you can survive for yourself through finding water, food, shelter, health, but crucially, spirit. Now, the whole idea behind this game is that you are mindful about everything you do. You don't kill animals unless you absolutely have to. You require spirit and meditation zones to recharge your spirit, and it will go into like full mindfulness meditation by telling you to breathe and things like that as you sit in these different like pod areas so that you can recharge your spirit, which then allows you to do more things. The overarching journey of the game is that you're basically on one of those like journey to coming of age stories where you're sent to this wild island of Enen so that you can be at one with nature and therefore prove yourself to humanity and that you're responsible as an adult when you come back. However, very little of this is explained to you up front, and there's lots of different mechanics going on that you would think would be easily solved in a tutorial or by breaking you in gently. But Journey to Enen has this paradox of, oh, we're mindful, we're all about meditation. Yeah, you can look at the stars and you can just enjoy being in this naturistic experience and just be at one with yourself. But immediately you can step outside of your biome and be bitten by a snake with an incurable poison venom that will eat away at your health before the tutorial is finished, and so you'll die. Or you'll go to the lake where your water, your first source of water is available for you to drink, but on that specific seed, that water is bad and contains a pathogen that again will kill you before you get the opportunity to unlock the like health benefits to be able to fix yourself. And this is the problem that Retreat to Enen constantly puts in front of itself by not gating some of the initial experience of the game. It sells itself as this, oh, you can just be at one with nature and it's relaxing, when actually it is full-on survival at its core. And so, yeah, you can pick up some twigs and you can build a little shack for yourself and maybe a little fire, but that fire goes out really quickly and food is not very abundant. So you're running around trying to pick fruit off the floor, which then decides to poison you. And so you die before you can get to the next part to unlock some of the additional stages of things. And again, just another example of this lack of tutorialization and structure against how the biome around you is. It's not fair because you're still learning the game's controls and it's killed you already. That frustration loop happened time and time and time and time again. And so what I was having to do was to save when something had actually gone well and had loads and loads of backup saves so that every time I moved, because you can't see the snakes or the water, you can't tell if it's like dodgy or not, it's just going to throw things at you. And because the idea of leveling up your character is to go exploring on the island and to find specific ruins, and you do it without a compass, which is fine because you can use the map that you're given and kind of climbing up on top of rocks to kind of survey the area and try and navigate your way that way. And I quite enjoyed the challenge of that, to be fair. Once you get to these ruins, you then start to level up your spirit by meditating in these ruins and gaining the wisdom and knowledge so that you can then have more things in your inventory at your disposal to build. That then leads on to base building. And again, there's some great base building ideas here where you can be quite freeform in the structure and the way how you do things. But you've got to go off into the wild. And because of the RNG of the way how animals behave with you or what water is going to be poisoned, again, nature is out to get you. And so it's not a relaxing experience. But then you're expected to be mindful and in a pod and breathe as your health is like at 1%. It's very odd. And it's this constant cognitive dissonance about what does this game want to be that just constantly bashes you over the head over and over and over and over and over again, whilst also being quite interesting and beautiful at the same time. Base building works exceptionally well and the game looks beautiful, particularly at night time, because there's this mixture of future technology schemes with these little like pods that you can have to meditate in, but also like your base as you build it looks quite cool as well. And like this game has a definite vibe and it really sells the visual and atmospheric ideas of it beautifully. What it doesn't do is scale itself up though. So I've covered all of these tutorial issues, which basically is the vast majority of where I spent my time with this game and why I'm so frustrated with it. Once you then get beyond the tutorial, you then have problems with scaling things up. So your inventory stays very, very small. And so you're constantly having to move and rebuild because it's trying to, whilst you've got base building here, it's almost like it wants you to be a nomad at the same time. So you've got this incongruence of what does the game want you to do. But you also then can't scale up your inventory particularly well either. So you have these baskets that you can weave and build, and then you can put things inside it. But you're trying to like randomly chuck and throw things. And so it just all bounces back out again. And then you can't really move it because it can't cope with you moving the basket around. So everything just flies everywhere and that's a state. You can go swimming around the island, which I thought was quite cool. And then that unlocks being able to get around different areas quite nicely, which is great. You can jump and climb around rocks, but it is the most jankiest way of trying to jump up and almost like force break climbing to get up rocks. So again, as the environment changes and the topography becomes much more varied, the platforming element of it, I was going to say the transport element, you know what I mean? The platforming of trying to get around from A to B becomes more and more janky and like you're breaking the game to get up some rocks rather than... And then I was like, should I actually be here at all if I just broke the game? But didn't mind because I had some really great views. I feel like this game needed a easy mode. And I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say, but this game is too hardcore from its survival aspects for it to be considered to be this chill, calming, relaxing experience, because your water meter goes down so quickly. You need water several times a day, whereas and your food is just as bad. And particularly if you're trying to not kill animals, you will struggle to get like enough potatoes and mushrooms and fruit for you to have sustenance and good fuel. Initially, I thought that this was me just having bad seeds because although the islands are the same every time you play it, where things are placed and what grows and spawns over the course of time does seem to change slightly every time I've played this. But no, it's just really, really harsh. And I don't think you can sell yourself primarily as a mindful, meditative survival game about being in nature and at one with nature and in the wild, and have such tight restrictions on what you can do and where you can go, and having to constantly rebuild things everywhere despite having base building. It's so much about building up from the ground up and not really getting beyond that it just becomes a frustrating chore. Adding to that the fact that things just kill you at random and there's no real control over that. I got really annoyed with this game. I didn't find it mindful. I didn't find it meditative. I certainly didn't find it calm. And so I came away from the game super confused, and I won't touch this for a very long time. And I wish the developers all the success with it, and I hope it does well, and that they continue to tweak and change things, because there's definitely something here that looks and feels good. It just needs gameplay tweaking and like serious prioritization over what is it that you actually want to do with this game and experience with this game. Because if you want to go down the meditative route, Plane is a much better example of that, where you can wander around a huge environment and put up like meditation poles and like breathe and all of that kind of stuff. If you want to go full survival, you've got things like Subnautica, where you can go like on a totally different tangent and do the same things from that side, but just on land instead. Yeah, confused.com. Written review is probably not coming out for this game because I don't feel like I've completed it, so therefore I don't feel like I can comment on it. However, I hope it was still useful to people to see how a game can get it so wrong from a design and tutorialization point of view. Take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.